All right, everybody, welcome to Wednesday Winners. This is a training that I, Lake Savage-Bellavance, do every Wednesday night to focus on the finesse and really dive in deep to aspects that make us, much better at our job here as agents, that make our lives a lot easier, that help you, level up. We have such a great opportunity here because we can make 200,000 plus a year on our own pen without even having a team, and that blows my mind every single day. I'm already at over $11,950 for the week, and it's just Wednesday. That's more than I've ever made in 1 month before I even joined TLG. Right, it blows my mind, and I've done that probably with in appointments only 8 hours of work. The rest has been dials and recruiting for me, so it's pretty awesome. But tonight is very special because we're going over how to set up a virtual appointment, how to do a virtual appointment, what's the best practices, and how to avoid objections. This is huge. This is important because now we've gotten through the objections, how to do the phone script. Now we need to learn how to sell. That's what I'm going to show you tonight. Selling by creating value for your clients. Okay. So where we want to start, could you guys mute out until we're ready to ask questions? That'd be great. Mute you all out. Perfect. So virtual appointments. We are in a day and age where we can work from home. We don't even need to drive to where we, to our clients anymore. Back before COVID, we were traveling 2-3 hours to an area to go door knocking to meet with clients. And that takes up a lot of time. That's 3 hours one way to meet with clients, and then 3 ways back. That creates really long days. But now with virtual, we can condense everything and meet a lot of clients in one day. So that's why you're seeing such big numbers. Josh Harris is over $40,000 mid-month so far. This guy's going to hit 80,000 this month. Can you imagine? Take your current contract and do a little bit of math. Take your current contract, multiply it by 80,000, and then multiply it by your advance of 75%. See where you'd be at if you wrote 80,000 annual premium in a month. It's life-changing money for sure. And that's what we have to offer. So as far as virtual appointments, you really need to tie them down tight. We're going to start with the phone script portion. So when you're doing your phone script, this is how I do it. There's a couple of different ways you can do it, but this works for me. I'm going to say, hey, I'm not going to give my client an option. I'm only going to deal with an objection if I get it a couple of times. Okay. So when I say, hey, we do all of our appointments virtually. Have you ever done a Zoom before? If they say yes, great. What time are you and your husband home from work tomorrow? I'm going to go right into setting the appointment. It's going to be super easy. If they say no, I'm going to say immediately, that's okay. It's super easy. All you have to do is click a link that I sent to you in an email, and I'll pop up on the other side. How about this? How about I call you at the start time to help you get on? If they say okay, then I move into setting the appointment. If they say no again, that's the only time that I set a telesale, right? I use a telesale at the very last option. Here's why. People are inherently visual. They're tactile. They're not auditory learners. Auditory learners are pretty rare. Kinesthetic learners are pretty rare. Okay. So most of us are visual learners. Okay. So having something on the screen for them to see us, to see how we're reacting, body language is huge, and you can still read body language through Zoom, right? You can tell that I'm French Canadian because my arms go every which way. So it's important to get them on there, and it builds a little bit more. So as soon as I set the appointment, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to send you an email with a link attached. Could you do me a favor and send me a quick reply so I can confirm the time with my office? Why do I do that? Well, when they see that email and they reply to it, it's reminding them that they have an appointment again, right? I'm not just saying, hey, we have an appointment, see you later. That's another reminder. It's a visual reminder. They have to read it, right? That'll sink in a little bit better. At the end of the phone call, I'm going to say, hey, my name is Lake. Make sure you keep an eye out for that email. Make sure you check your spam. Sometimes I'm having trouble with emails going to spam. If you don't get it, let me know. If I don't hear from them within 15 minutes of that phone call, I call them right back. No text, no email. It's an immediate call. And I will continue to call them until they pick up. Not in that one instance, but I'll call them in 15 minutes. I'll call them an hour later. Okay, because I want this appointment to stick, and the more the more touch points I have in communication with the client, more that they're going to trust me, and the more rapport you're building. Even just those little touch points, you're creating that open line of communication, right? They're not going to open that line. You have to. So now, reschedules and no-shows are normal in the virtual world. It's completely normal. Here's the thing. Using those tie downs, you can cut down on your no-show rate, okay? You can cut down by making sure you're adding those tie downs. My very first week in virtual, I've said this a million times, I set 12 appointments, didn't know what I was doing, and guess what? None of them showed up. My very first week in virtual. That was a big hit, and I learned very quickly how to get people to show up. And that's just constant reminders. Now, when you send them the email, I say the same exact thing that I said on the phone call. Hey, Mary, it was nice speaking to you and John today. Here's our Zoom for tomorrow night at 7:30. Can you please send me a quick reply so I can confirm the time with my office? Again, just the repetition is getting them to reply, okay? So I'm making sure I'm getting that to stick. Okay, so now let's say it's the next day and you're a couple hours before your appointment. I'm going to send another email or reminder 2 or 3 hours beforehand, not in the morning, not 10 minutes before, 2 or 3 hours beforehand. Here's why. In the morning, you can, let's say if you had something to do that afternoon, if you got a reminder that you had to go somewhere or do something, especially something that's not that fun, like let's say you had to go to the DMV later, pick up some paperwork, and you get a reminder that morning, you're going to be like, I'm going to call my wife and see if we really want to do that tonight. It's Wednesday, don't really want to do that. So, hey, Lake, sorry, something came up. Going to have to reschedule, right? So I don't set it out that far ahead of time. I don't remind them 10 minutes beforehand because they're going to be like, oh crap, I forgot. We're going to have to reschedule because I'm not where I should be. If you send it 2 or 3 hours beforehand, they're going to be like, oh crap, we have an appointment in 3 hours. I have to call my wife or husband and let them know and remind them that we've got this to do in 2 or 3 hours. Okay. That's how I do it. So I set up a reminder just a few hours ahead of the appointment. That way they're more likely to show. That's what I find works. Talk to your upline about how best to tie down your virtual appointments, but it works great for me. Now, we're in the appointment, okay? They've showed up. A couple of things you need to be aware of. Make sure you know Zoom. Make sure you know how to get their audio working, all right? The more time you spend on the technical issues that you're having, your clients are going to get frustrated. You don't want them to get frustrated because that's not going to put them in the mood to listen to you, okay? So if, let's say they're on and they have their video on, but their audio isn't on, call them up. Just call them up and walk them through it. Don't waste any time. If you can't figure it out within 2 minutes why their audio isn't working, put them on speakerphone and use your phone as the audio, okay? Super easy. We're trying to just make this as easy as possible for your clients. You can go and in the upper right-hand corner and click on their video or click on their mic and ask them to unmute or ask them to turn on their video, okay? If that's not there, they need to click on the microphone and click join with audio, computer audio, or Wi-Fi audio if they're on the phone. Computer audio if they're on the computer, Wi-Fi audio if they're on the iPhone or iPad or a phone, smartphone, okay? So just a little bit of troubleshooting stuff. So great point, Jared. So you can automatically, when you set up your Zoom appointment, there's some boxes at the bottom that say, hey, have them automatically join with audio and with video. And what I find is most people will come on with audio and video, but if they haven't used Zoom before, something's gonna pop up and ask permission to access their microphone. Usually people click no. They don't want anybody accessing. They think it's a website accessing their data. That's just kind of how we're trained. We just press no. So make sure they just go back, click the microphone, and then give their computer or their smartphone permission to access the microphone camera, okay? So now we are in the appointment. This is the fun part. This is rapport building. We don't want to talk about anything about insurance yet. We want to warm them up, want to get to know them. How I do that is I'm asking them emotionally charged questions. hey, how long have you guys been together for? A couple that I was talking to this morning, they had been together for 46 years. That's an amazing amount of time. And so I compliment them. That's amazing. Been together for 46 years. I just got through my first year. Any tips or tricks on how to make it another 45, right? Get them opening up about that, opening up about their relationship. Talk to them about what they like to do for fun. And then usually I'm gonna politely cut them off at some point. As soon as there's a little lull after 5 to 7 minutes, I'm gonna cut them off and say, well, guys, I probably could talk your ear off all day, but I told you I'd try to keep this short. See, I'm taking control of the selling system. I'm telling them, okay, now it's time to get down to business. We had their fun, and clients love to hear that because they know that you're taking care of them, right? You're keeping their time in mind and you're respecting their time, all right? And as soon as I say that, usually when you're calling a lead, you've talked to one person. You don't usually talk to both the husband and wife, you talk to one person. So whoever that person is, I'm going to say, John, you and I talked on the phone about why you were looking to do this, but why don't you and Kelly tell me what your goals are for this insurance, any concerns you might have, right? I'm getting them to retell me the why. So I've already asked emotionally charged questions in the report. Now I'm bringing out the seriousness of the situation. Now they're starting to think about the uncomfortable stuff. What would I do without my husband if he was gone? What would I do without my wife's income if she was gone? So you're going to get out their why. You don't want a surface level why. If they just say, I just want to protect my wife. What does that protection look like for you? Ask deeper questions. You don't want to get just surface level answers. You want to really dive deep and just have a conversation about them of what does it look like? How hard would it be? What would you have to take care of? Would you sell the house? What do you have in place now that would help take care of it? Right? That's a great way to get out if they didn't tell you on the phone, the initial phone call that they had other products, they'll tell you now, right? And then this is a great place to kind of plug in and ask them the safe money questions, right? What do you have that acts like life insurance, right? Any old 401ks? Great. You can get those questions asked so that you can go bam fam later and write an IUL or annuity. So you're going to take a financial inventory of what they have, and then you're going to place it. So if they have a 401k, great. You have a 401k, that's awesome. Glad you have that. And you want to leave that behind for income when you pass, correct? Yes. Okay. I assigned a value for that 401k. It's not going towards the house. It's going towards income. So you guys are looking for insurance to protect the home, correct? Yes. Getting them to say yes to me a lot so that they're used to saying yes, right? And I'm always shaking my head up and down. That's the movement. You guys see me all the time. I look like a bobblehead. Someone's talking to me. I'm just like, yep, bobbing around, big bald head bobbing around. But I forgot what I said with my own joke. Anyways, yeah, so you're going to want to ask those safe money questions. And then I move straight on to, handling the objections right up front. And this is super easy. Ever since I started implementing this, my close ratio went through the roof. Okay. So after I get it all said and done, I have their why. They definitely want to protect each other. I made sure of it. I dove deep into their why. I just didn't get a surface level connection. I said, okay, well, if this was free, we would be done by now, right? And they both look at me, they laugh. It's a lighthearted question. I say, well, my job as a field underwriter is to help you find that sweet spot between protection and, having something is better than nothing. So, between free and hell no per month. If we can find that sweet spot, is there any reason that would hold you guys back from protecting each other? See how I worded that? Is there anything that would hold you back from protecting each other? Of course they don't want to not protect each other, right? And I always throw in there, obviously we can make adjustments as needed because something is better than nothing, right? At least give each other a shot. Okay. If they say anything but yes, but no, there's nothing that would hold us back. You need to make them say no. So for instance, tonight, I wrote 3,200 AP. on an SUL, and I asked that question, is there anything that would hold you guys back from protecting each other? Well, just the price. Okay, we already have the price taken care of. Let's say it's the perfect premium for you guys a month. Is there anything else that would hold you back? No. Okay, I need to clear that up, because if he's thinking price, right after I say if there's something that holds him back, guess what's going to hold him back when I talk to him and I try to close him? Money, premium, right? I need to go in further and make sure. This is just getting all the objections out of the way so they have no excuse to tell you at the end, okay? You're going to get, hey, well, I'm a thinker, I want to think about it. I'm not going to make a decision tonight, right? You can handle those up front. So this guy did that to me tonight. He's like, well, I'm a thinker. I don't make any sudden decisions tonight, and that's okay. And with my experience, and this is a great question for Jared, I'm going to bring him on in a second. And so what I do is I just agree with them. Absolutely. It's so important to think about it. It's so important to think about it. And then I'll handle that on the back end. How I did it tonight was I really want to think about it. I don't make a decision. And I said, okay, great. Well, my job is to help you make an educated decision to make sure that it fits your needs and your budget. Does that sound fair? Yes. What did he agree to? He agreed to make a decision that was fair, right? That's what I led him to. I didn't let him slip up or slip through by saying, well, we're going to think about it and there's nothing you can do, Lake, right? At the end, I still got some pushback. Well, I said, out of these three options, which one fits your needs and your budget? You know what he said to me? Well, it's something to think about. And I said, awesome. Out of these options, which one are you guys thinking you're leaning towards? He said the middle one. I said, okay. So we looked at the two options and they added up to $270 a month. And I said, okay, is $270 a month going to break your bank? Is it going to hurt your monthly? Probably not. I said, okay, well, why don't we fill out the application, get that out of the way, and then you'll have 90 days to decide if you want to go up or down in coverage. Notice I did not say cancel. I never ever say cancel to my client. I give them the option to move up or down in coverage. Right after I said that, okay, let's go. Gave me his social, gave me his account information like it was nothing, right? So I know that in a couple of days, I'm going to follow up with him and he's either going to go up or he's going to stay the same because he's a serious client. We've got him to fill out and make a commitment. Make sense? Jared, I wanted to ask you on that and bring in your expertise on when someone says, I'm going to think about it tonight in the very beginning.
In the very beginning, yeah. I was like, hey, oh, at the very beginning? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you definitely need to think about this. And that's actually why we're sitting here. So I can get you some information. You see, when Art Leeser created the Leeser Group, he realized that there were a lot of crazy things going on in this industry. So rather than hiring salespeople that just come out and show you the highest dollar thing, he hired field underwriters like myself, where we actually come out and we educate and we show you options. And the thing is, when people are educated and they have some good options put in front of them, they can make some good decisions. So that's exactly why I'm here. Now, I have your mortgage amount at $200,000, Lake. Is that right?
That's right.
Perfect.
See, boom, he moves right into the next part. You handle the objection and you move right next. You move right to the next thing.
There's no need to do anything else because you've answered the question. There's nothing for them to follow up with. You just answered the question.
Right. And that's why I wanted you guys to hear Jared, because he has such a fluidity to his presentations. He's very fluid, and that's how I do my presentations. I don't leave any dead air, right? If you're on the radio and you are, you're the radio guy, you don't want any dead air, right? You don't, Jared's a radio guy. You don't want any dead air while you're on the radio, right? You want to constantly keep talking. And that's pretty much what you're doing. You're just keeping the conversation going. So you handle the objection and then you move on to the next part, okay? So now that we've handled the objection and now they've said, no, there isn't anything that would hold us back, then I move into the presentation. And let me show you what my presentation looks like. Okay, so I'm going to say, okay, can you guys see my presentation? Okay. I'm going to make this bigger for you. All right. So I work with a company called the Leisure Group. We are a coalition of field underwriters that serve our families in mortgage protection, straight up life insurance, final expense, and we do a lot of retirement. Okay. This is my big giant family. You know, this is where you're going to talk about yourself, guys. Okay. I always, this is where you can really relate to people, especially with if you have kids, right? Have your kids or your favorite hobby on there. Talk about yourself a little bit. People like to talk, have a conversation, right? Bring it away from insurance a little bit. I use a lot of humor. So this is also where I get serious. Okay. So I'll crack a couple of jokes about my grandfather and give me the balding gene, right? I'll talk about how gorgeous my wife is and how lucky I am that she puts up with me, right? That'll get them warm and fuzzy and thinking about each other, right? And then because I use a lot of humor, I have to get serious. So, okay, but guys, the most important thing on this page, you see how I shifted my pace and my tone? Guys, the most important thing on this page is my state license. These are state and federally regulated products. So it's that you see my license here, that I'm a qualified professional helping you today. Okay. I did send that copy in my email, right? They said, yep, we saw it. Right. So now they can take me seriously. Right. Sometimes if you're too jovial, it works against you. You know, because if you're too funny and you don't get serious, people will not tell you no. They'll just be so polite. Oh, we'll think about it. We'll get back to you in a couple of days, because you're so nice. They don't want to say no. And then I move right on. So I don't know why I have this one. Usually I have the one with all of the carriers on there, but I'll say, hey, these are the carriers that I work with. Do you recognize any of them? And they'll say, yeah, Mutual of Omaha. Exactly. They're over 100 years old. You remember Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom? It's a show Mutual of Omaha used to have back in the 70s and 80s. My great-grandmother, she taped them all, so I watched them as a kid, right? But guess what? Mutual of Omaha has in common with every one of these other carriers. They're all around 100 years old. The youngest is like 75 years old. What does that mean to you guys? Well, that means that they know exactly what they're doing. They all have billions of dollars in assets. They're very stable companies. And I've already done the liberty of working through each and every carrier to make sure we find the best match for you. Sound good? They say yes. I move on. What is mortgage protection? Well, let me break it down for you real quick. I love using words like real quick, right? Because if you use words like, I'm going to break this down for real quick, or before we finish up, right? I'm going to have the same length of appointments as I'm going to have, but by using those words, it feels shorter to the client. Hey, let me show you how's this going to work. Hey, before we finish up, this is what we're going to do, right? Boom. It makes them feel like it's not an hour long. Right? Because initially I told them I'd keep it short. Okay. My appointments with two people, they're going to run about an hour. And then one person is going to run about half an hour. That's how I'm running. It's normal for a new agent to run about an hour and a half. If you're getting to 2 hours, you got to talk to your upline, because your clients are really going to lose their attention span. They're going to start to get antsy and frustrated. Okay. So keep it under 2 hours, and over time, work it right down like I have, right to an hour. Excuse me. So what is mortgage protection? Well, let me explain it to you guys real quick. So mortgage protection, it can pay off your mortgage or a large chunk of it if you pass away. It's also going to help you due to illness and accidents, and I'll explain that in just a minute. I just literally read the first box. That's all I did. So now I'm getting them prepared of what I'm going to show them. Now, you guys choose where the money's allocated. What that means is the bank is not going to get any extra money. Let's say 10 years down from the road, you only owe $200,000 on the house and you have a $250,000 policy. You want the bank getting an extra 50 grand out of this if you pass? Hell no. Exactly. You want it to go to your wife, because you spend all this time protecting your wife. Use those little phrases, those little jabs to kind of massage the mood, right? Get him used to protecting his wife, or his wife protecting her husband. Okay. Now, guys, this is transferable. And what I mean by that, it's attached to you and not your mortgage. Okay. Just like I said, we don't want the bank getting any extra money, but This means it's not going to change. It's attached to you individually so that your beneficiary will get the money and use it as they see fit. Maybe she doesn't want to keep the house in 30 years. Maybe it's too much for her to handle and she wants to downsize. That's her prerogative, right? You want her to have options, right? That's why it's attached to you. Now, here's the very most important thing I need you guys to know. Your death benefit and your premium are always going to stay the same. They're never, ever going to go up on you, okay? So you have faith that nothing's going to change. Once you're approved, it stays the same. So I really hammer that home. These last two slides or two boxes are going to be for mortgage payment protection. So I know that I need to talk about mortgage payment protection at this point. So now, if I'm talking about mortgage payment protection, we're going to offer affordable plans that are available to protect your equity in your home. And I'll explain that in just a minute. Usually coverage is for 6, 12, or 24 months of your mortgage payments. Okay. So that's how you're going to explain it. For this last bit, you'll only need to talk about it if you have a CBO option or a return of premium option. I don't even talk about it unless I'm showing them a return of premium option. And if you don't say anything, guess what? They don't notice, right? They're following along with you. So just give them the information they need. You don't need to expound into it. Now, John and Sally, remember I told you this could help you due to illness or accident? Well, here's how. Mary, could you read the first box aloud for me? What am I doing there? I'm keeping them engaged. I'm making sure I'm commanding their attention. Okay. If someone gets up and leaves and goes do something, I'll pretend to look up and say, oh, we lost Jerry. Where did Jerry go? Oh, Jerry's got to go let the dog in. Okay, well, hey, what do you like and Jerry like to do on the weekends? I'll move the conversation because it's very important to keep them both on the same page. So I'm not going to move on until I have them both of their asses in the seats. Okay, so it's extremely important. Now, this is a great way for a new agent to keep them both engaged, because sometimes you'll have the husband doing this or the husband doing this, or you'll have the wife just listening and not talking because the husband's commanding, asking all the questions, things like that. So by asking them to read each one of these aloud, it brings the other person back into the conversation. So Mary, can you read the first box aloud? And she'll read it. Okay. Read it right for you. And then you explain the living benefits, right? So this is where you tell a story. So John, you know anybody that had cancer in past? Yes. How did it affect their life financially? Oh, they lost their house, they lost this and that. Okay. Well, Mary, John just got cancer and he has 9 months to live. What does that look like for you guys financially? I just made that extremely real for them. I just brought them to that place of, oh crap, John has cancer. John has kidney failure. He can't work anymore. He's had a stroke. He's a truck driver and he has a stroke. They're not going to let him keep his license if he can't drive, right? You need to make this real for them. That's where you're building this emotional value that gets them to say yes. Okay, that makes it important for them. So you really harp on the living benefits here if your policy that you're showing has it. Okay, so I've told that story and I've made it extremely personal. Now, John, can you read chronic illness aloud for me? He'll read that one. Allows you to take up to 24% of your policy death benefit, yada, yada, yada. Okay, I'll explain the 6 activities of daily living, which are eating, dressing, bathing, walking around, getting in and out of the seat or a bed, and taking your medications. If you can't do 2 of those, then you qualify to have to get up to 24% of your policy's death benefit each year. Notice how I said up to. These policies are going to give them up to 24%, right? It's based on the severity of their illness or what's going on. So you just need to tell them up to 24%. Okay, so I'll tell a story. Yeah, I had a gentleman who was skiing a few years ago, and skiing is very popular in Maine. Well, he was going down a double black diamond and he was saying, don't hit the tree, don't hit the trees, don't hit the trees. Well, guess what happened? He hit a tree. He shattered his left hip. He needed to be airlifted out of there. Well, he took about 6 months of recovery from work in order to, to do the multiple reconstructive surgeries, to heal. And he had have home hospice because he obviously couldn't walk around. Then it got infected. He was out of work for another 5 months because of the infection. Back in the hospital on drip IV. Meanwhile, he has a $350,000 mortgage, 2 little girls to take care of. So it's easy to say things were tight, right? Now, does the bank care that that's happened to you? I always throw the bank under the bus, guys. I throw the bank under the bus so hard. But because it's true, the bank doesn't care. And I said, does the bank care that that happened to him? No, they're going to want their payments no matter what. So he blew through his savings. Now he needed help. Then you remember he talked to me. We talked about it. I got him a claim, and we were able to get him enough money to pay for his past mortgage and some other bills so he could stay in his home, his 2 little girls. But can you imagine going through something like that, 11 months in and out of the hospital, and not having a place to go home to for you and your little girls? Can't imagine like that. That's why we get this insurance, okay? Last box I'm always going to read for them. Last way this is going to protect you is any terminal illness, life expectancy of 12 months or less. They'll allow you to take up to 95% his death benefit. Now, Jim and Sally, can you see how advantageous that is? Yes. Not only is it going to protect you guys if you pass away, but it's going to protect you for something that's more likely to happen, which is an injury or illness, right? Or critical illness. As we age, we're getting closer and closer to a heart attack or something going wrong on the inside, right? So that's why we do this. Can you see how advantageous that is? Yes. And this is where I typically stop unless I'm showing them a Foresters. Foresters has some member benefits. You can really relate it to them. I don't need to go over every single one, but Foresters will help them create a will for free. And they have some orphan benefits. So if their child's orphaned, they'll pay the new legal guardian $900, up to $900 per child per month until the child reaches age 18. It's a great extra value. Excuse me there. So, but if I'm going back to a normal appointment where I'm showing Americo, I'm just going to stop sharing right here. I'm going to come back face to face. I'm going to get serious with them again. Okay, Jim, this is tough. Sally is just doing her normal routine and you go off to work tomorrow. It's a slippery day. You don't make it home. Sally, what is your next move? I just stopped talking. I'm not going to let her give me just a surface level. If they start laughing, because a lot of people will laugh because it's nervous. I don't really laugh with them. I just say, well, unfortunately, this is serious. What if this happened? What is your next move? What do you have right now that's going to be plan B? Right? I make it a reality. And then I will do the same for him. What does it look like if he went out on his motorcycle, or she went out on her motorcycle, she hit a patch of dirt and she wasn't able to. Now the kids lost their mother, right? Guys, I'm getting seriously emotional about this, and that's okay. That's what this is for. This is emotional sale backed by logic. So I'm building that emotional value. And then as soon as I'm done with that and they explain it, I'm going to say, let me show you why you don't have to worry about that anymore. I go right back into my presentation. And I'm going to move it right to the menu. Okay, guys. So your mortgage is $164,000. So obviously the preferred is the entire amount. It's going to stay the same for 30 years. Standard, that still gives you a good chunk of money. Maybe you could refinance it. Maybe you could do a couple different things with it as you need, but at least it's going to give you $100,000 to figure out your stuff. And I don't think you'd shake a stick at $100,000, would you, Jim? No, obviously not. Now, basic is going to give you a few years of mortgage payments to kind of, be able to decide what you want. Maybe it's enough to refinance at that point. Maybe you don't want to live in that big house alone, right? Maybe you just want to downsize and move to something else. So it gives you enough time to sell the house and collect the equity available, okay? Now, remember, all these top numbers are going to come with the living benefits we talked about. So you can have up to 95% of 164, 100, or 50, okay? This policy would also give you an extra 25% if you died by an accident, like slips, trips, falls, drowning, anything like that. So don't get any ideas, Jim. Okay. I don't want to end up on Forensic Files giving an interview. And then, you're just going to move along and say, this is what it looks like. Now, these are the policy options for you both. Remember, these are individual policies attached to you and not the mortgage. Out of these 3 policies, which one feels right to you guys? Most importantly, which one fits your budget? I don't talk. I'm going to let them talk. I've in the longest silent stare down, I think it was like 6 minutes. I didn't say a word for 6 minutes. And that was really intense. They're kind of murmuring to each other. Yeah, they were trying to get me to talk the whole time. But, because they wanted to ask some questions, but I let them kind of think about it. Now, usually, if you've done this correctly and you've followed exactly what I've done throughout this whole process, they're going to pick one. And they're most likely going to pick the standard. As soon as they say, yeah, I think we're good with standard. Okay, what's your guy's middle initial? I'm going immediately into commitment mode. I don't really need their middle initial, but it's a great way to get them to start to commit, giving you information that you need for the application. So as soon as I say, what's your middle initial? Great. I'm going to exit out of my presentation, and I'm going to go right into the application. And I'm just going to start having a conversation with them. So all I need from you guys is your license. I got to verify your identity, make sure you are who you say you are. And then I'll need any of your medications that you might have that we talked about, and the account information that you want the premium to come out of. So Jim, you said your middle initial. See how I just right into it? I told them what they needed to hear. I told them what they needed to get me, and I moved right into the application. You're going to be surprised how little pushback you're going to get. I mean, Danielle, don't you find that once you just move right into it, it's just smooth as butter? Exactly. And, so that's why you want to do that. That's why you just want to move right into the applications. Okay. Now, sometimes you're going to get objections, right? But hopefully you've got them all out at the beginning. Okay. What are you going to say if they want to think about it? Is the first words that should come out of your mouth, guys, is absolutely. When handling objections, you need to be agreeable first. You need to agree with them, you need to level with them and get them on their side, right? Absolutely. Thinking about it's very important. What is there to think about? I'm trying to find the real objection. Think about it's not a real objection. Okay. Jared, what's up, buddy? Let me unmute you.
Hey, man. I'm here. You got me?
Mm-hmm.
So this is one objection that I really love, because it's exactly what you said. It's not a real objection. They need to think about it. And so, some of the ways that I handle that is like, that's great. I would totally need to think about it as well. And the cool thing is I can't even get this for you. An application to even start the process. And because the company needs to think about you just as much as you need to think about them. And then I move forward. And it's like, well, I really need to think about it. If they come back again, I'm like, Jim, you've been thinking about this for a while. You thought about this right after you closed on your mortgage, thinking that you had a huge loan, right? And you thought about it when you got this piece of paper in the mail and you filled it out and sent it back. And you thought about it some more when I called you on the phone and you booked an appointment for me, or booked an appointment with me. So you've been thinking about this for a while. So what really is there to think about? And you just shut up and wait for them. It's either price or product. And think about it. You can overcome that. But then you get to the real meat of the problem. It's either price or product. And I always make a joke, is that, and if it's me, I can get you another licensed agent in your area if you don't like me. So that's what I had to say about that.
Absolutely. And that's exactly how I break it down to try to find the real objection, right? Absolutely. You want to think about it. You go through what Jared said. Then once you get to the meaty objection, the real objection, right? Jared does kind of the three-pronged approach. Either it's me, it's, you don't see the value in the product, or it's the premium. Out of those three, which one is it? If they say it's the premium, great. We can always make adjustments to make this fit your needs, okay? So then I go from there. See which one of these products, hold on, let me go back to my screen. I'll go right back to the presentation and I'll say, okay, out of these three, which one definitely doesn't work? And they'll say every time they're going to say preferred. Yeah, the preferred's right out of question. So out of those last two, which one are you leaning towards? Well, we're leaning towards the standard. You know, the basic is nice, obviously, but we just want to check our numbers to make sure we can afford the standard. And you know what I'll say? Great. I'll do some math with them. Okay. That's going to be about $300 a month. Okay. Is that going to break your bank? No, I don't think so. Okay. Your worst month that you've had in the last year, could you still be able to pay that? Yeah, we should be okay. What is there to think about? They're saying, well, you're right. Okay, what's your middle initial? See, move right into filling out the application. I'm handling it, moving right into the application. Another way, if they say, well, we're not really sure if any of them fit. Okay, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we start with the lowest option? Like I said, the carrier's going to think about you too. But guess what? You have about 90 days to decide if you want to go up or down in coverage. Okay, that way we can make sure you get approved and that you have something in place, because something's better than nothing, right? And then they'll say, okay. Then on the last ditch effort, if that's not going to work, I'll talk about getting insurance on the least vulnerable person. So if the husband makes all the money and the wife passes away, he probably can still pay for the mortgage just fine, right? Or it might be vice versa. So I said, well, Mary, if we talked about earlier that if Jim passes away, you'd be kind of screwed. You wouldn't have anywhere to go. You wouldn't be able to pay the mortgage. You've been a stay-at-home mom. So wouldn't it make sense to just let's wait on your policy till things are better, and let's get a policy on Jim so that we can make sure that you get protected. That's the last ditch effort for me. And usually people go for that. Well, that makes sense. You know, at least I can get one policy out of the situation, right? At least I can protect somebody. And then I'll say, I'll follow up with you in 4 to 6 months when things are a little bit better for you. Does that sound fair? Perfect. Okay. It's a great way to handle those objections. Now, the last part of this, after you're done the application, you got to do what's called a warm down. And a warm down is, how would you feel if I just showed you insurance and, hey, that's it. That's all you need. That's the application. I hope you guys have a great night. See ya. What do you feel? Kind of feel like something's weird here. I think I just got gypped. I think that guy just took my information. I'm really uncomfortable, right? So you don't want to speed off the phone or the Zoom, okay? So what I do in the warm down, I say, okay, that's it. We filled out the applications. I'll have them submitted to the carrier. Typically, it takes a couple of days to get an approval if I'm not doing an instant decision America. Excuse me. It takes a couple of days to get an approval. I'll follow up with you then, and then your first premium will not come out till about 48 hours after you're approved, okay? I'll make sure I call you, get you all set up. Then your documents will come into the mail, and we're all good. But guys, I have an important question for you. You feel good about what we did tonight? I need to reaffirm their decision with that question. I need to make sure that they know that they're making a good decision. And that's going to cut down on a lot of buyer's remorse. Yeah, I feel really good about protecting my wife. I'm so glad I could help you guys with that. No, it's so important. And you guys really love each other because you're thinking about what happens after each other's gone. And not everybody's like that. So that's great. And then I'm going to talk about nothing related to insurance for another 5 minutes. Okay. If you can help it. Sometimes they're antsy to get off the phone. It is what it is. But I'll talk about nothing for insurance. I'll say, okay, what's for dinner tonight? You guys want to go grab something? You know, laugh with them a little bit. And then they'll talk about what they're doing. Talk to them about any of their hobbies or something that you had talked about earlier. Just bring up any report and talk to them about 5 minutes. And when you feel the conversation go to a lull, just say, okay, well, if you guys have any questions, make sure you save my number. You guys never have to talk to a robot. You can always call me if you need to make any changes or anything like that. And if anything happens to him or it happens to you, make sure you call me. Let me do my job and help you get the death benefit. You're going to be in the middle of, grieving. You shouldn't have to go through that. Let me help you like this was designed to help. Okay. I hope you guys have a great night. And then you end it. Okay. That's it. That's how to do a successful virtual sale for mortgage protection. That's how it should be done. So with that being said, we got some time for some questions. I know there's going to be questions from y'all. There's a lot of new faces on here. So go ahead and open this up. You'll see a little button at the bottom that says reactions. How I want you to do this is go hit reactions at the bottom and raise your hand so we don't start all talking at once. So find the reactions button at the bottom, hit raise hands. All right, Kim Glass.
Hello.
What's
Hey.
up?
Hey guys. Great presentation tonight and training. Thank you so much. I really connected with a lot of what I'm not doing correctly. Which has been pretty hard for me lately because I'm like, I know in my heart I'm doing the right thing and I'm trying to tell them the right thing, but you hit on so many things tonight. But one of the things, so I called Aaron about Saturday with one was, I'm sorry, my lights are kind of crazy in here, but anyway, got on there and it was a game time lead where the guy had been shopping it out online himself through with Prudential. He mentioned a few and he said, well, no, I mean, like your presentation, I tried to do all, did all the things, connecting in the beginning and building, the rapport and things like that, but got into it. He was like, just show me the bottom line. I mean, so many people would just want you to email it to them. They're like, and that's their way of trying to get out of it, obviously, right?
Yeah. So when someone does that to me,
that wasn't it.
Oh,
The point was, so I didn't do that. I made him get onto Zoom and I gave him the option. He's like, all right, he just wanted to get down to it. Immediately shot me down. He's like, oh my God, no, he's 64. And he literally, I mean, there's some other stuff, but it was like, all right, well, literally, I couldn't get him. Oh, it was an antidepressant med that declined him for payment protector, declined from everything America. He's only been on it like a year, but even though if it wasn't even a major depressive disorder, it was just the fact that he's been on this medication, shut him out of all those. So I found other stuff for him, but he immediately was like laughing, like, oh, no, I got quotes from Prudential online, State Farm online, that literally the most expensive for $250,000, $300,000 was $180. And I'm like, you know what? Can I just pause this for just a minute? I said, because I have a feeling I know exactly what's happening here. So do you mind if I just do that for a minute? So I paused, I put my thing on mute, put everything, I contacted Aaron, and then he brought up Danielle. And he said, we have got one of the top State Farm agents that knows all about bait and switch. He goes, this is a typical bait and switch. He's getting the super preferred of this. So how would you handle that at that point if that happens? And how can I handle it better next time? Because I feel like that's where I lost him. I mean, I came back and he did seem to connect and really start to understand when I explained to him that, everything Aaron told me to say, I came back and said, right. But still I got that I'll think about it. And now I'm trying to follow up and he's saying, we're good right now. My policy is good until December.
Mm-hmm. So what you're going to want to do with someone like that is you're going to obviously try to get it out of the way. They're going to say that right in, when you ask them, hey, is there anything that would hold you back? Yeah, we're not doing anything today. We're just going to shop around. I would say from there, say, okay, well, what other quotes have you gotten so far? Typically they'll tell you State Farm told me this, State Farm told me that. Okay. Do you understand how fully underwritten policies work? No, they're going to give you a super preferred rating, which means that you are basically an all-time marathon. Do you run marathons now? right? Get them to laugh a little bit. You know, when's the last time you ran a marathon? What did your last blood pressure? They're going to ask if your uncle was a drunk or if your, you know, mother was a smoker. This is how serious they get. So if they find anything a little wrong, a couple things can happen. They're going to rate you, which means that, hey, you're going to go from a super preferred rating all the way to a standard or substandard rating, which is going to jack your premium ridiculous. But they're also going to make you go through a medical exam. It's going to take a long time. So would you rather go through all that and find out that you might not even get insurance? Because the worst that can happen is that once you get a decline, guess what? No one will take you. As soon as you get declined from medically underwritten insurance, no other insurance carrier will take you. Is that the risk you want to take at your age? And just be real with them. Say, this is no medical exam. We already got a decline from one carrier. So how do you think another carrier is going to view you? You're the same person on the same medication, right? You just got to level with them. Danielle, how do you handle with that?
So, Ken, the longer you're going to be doing the life insurance and the mortgage protection, you'll be aware of other carriers, because I've been with State Farm and Nationwide. I knew right away they did not have living benefits. They just have the terminal illness rider. So I talk about that. I say not all life insurance is created equal, just like the objection of not all mortgage protection is created equal. And a lot of this is nurses coming out, and that rate is going to change. It's a bait and switch. So you'll get more familiar with the other carriers out there, but just say, you know, there's a reason why they drive that price, because they try to get that bait and switch and lock you in. But unfortunately, without having that consultation and seeing what you qualify for, they're just giving you a price, which will never be that price at the end of the day. I'm a field underwriter. I'm a consultant. I will let you know exactly what you're qualified for, and that's the set rate for as long as you have that in force. So, but you'll know, but right away, they only have that terminal illness rider of all of those carriers that you named. So.
Exactly. Does that help, Kim?
Oh God, that was honestly, I mean, maybe it'll eventually convert and be one, but I learned so much from that particular presentation. Because he literally did tell me on the phone, he said, I'm going to go with the first one that makes this simple. I want simplified issue. I don't want a medical exam. I want the rate to be what it is. And I want 250,000, 300,000 coverage, or as close as I can get to that and be done.
Right. Yeah. We just have to do a little bit of education there and make sure he understands. So, you know, we've got to level with him. Say, listen, you know, the average man lives to be 78 years old. You think a carrier wants to give you $1 million at 64 years old without making you pay something for it or something cheap for it, right? You know how this works, right? I just throw the ball in their court. You know how this works, right? Even if they don't, are they going to say no? No, they're gonna be humble in their head and say, yeah, I don't really know how this works, and let me explain it. So, good question, Kim.
No, that helped a lot. Thanks. Thank you.
You got it. All right, Stephanie.
Hey, so I have a couple quick ones. The 90 days to review, is that true like for any policy anytime? It's always 90 days?
No, it's not true for any policy. Foresters will give you 90 days without any crazy paperwork to allow you to change it up or down. But most of the time when people make a decision, they're going to make a decision, they're going to stick with it. So it's not too big of a deal. Most carriers are fine with increasing the coverage. But check with your upline on which carriers are not. As far as most carriers are going to have a 10-day free look, which means as soon as they get their policy delivered, they can look at it for 10 days before they're not eligible for a refund.
Okay, but you say that 90-day line to everyone?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yep.
And then does the beneficiaries have to sign the paperwork?
No. Nope. So how it works is there's instances where they would sign the paperwork and it's called an irrevocable beneficiary.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But I always make sure I add everybody as revocable. I've not written one policy where anybody was irrevocable. It's just, I always tell them it causes headaches. You got to sign off to make any changes. Makes it really difficult.
Okay. And then last one is I know you you talk about having a couple in front of you a lot and getting the rapport of their marriage and they're protecting each other. I'm going to be meeting with someone, and this probably happens a lot, who's single. And so she's writing the beneficiary on her kids, but they won't be in the room at the meeting. So it'll just be her. So it might be a little more awkward.
It's not awkward, actually. We get her to think about her kids. Hey, when's the last time you saw them? Do you guys have a big Thanksgiving together? Right? That's a good rapport builder. And then talk about it. What does it look like for your kids if you pass away? What are they going to do with the house? Right? Get her to think, get them to think about that, because that's who they're protecting, right? We don't necessarily need them there unless they're both on the same mortgage. Like if they're on the same mortgage, you want the beneficiary there. If the beneficiary is a mother or father and you're talking to a young kid, definitely have the mother or father show up. No, get them on that Zoom, because that kid is going to be looking for advice from that mother or father. If you try to write them a policy, their mother or father is going to say, you don't need that, right? Because they don't understand. So you want them there at that situation as well. And it also has a great opportunity to write additional insurance.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it. Faith, what's up?
Hey, so talking about people that want to think about it and everything else, what if they already have I don't know, 401ks and work related and other life insurance? How can you get around that?
So remember my financial analysis in the beginning? What do you have that acts like life insurance right now? Maybe like an old 401k. So what I'm doing right there is I'm either looking to assign a job for that 401k. So if that's a 401k, okay, so you guys were leaving that behind for additional income when they pass, right? And if they say yes, then that's what it is. If they try to bring that up at the end, you're going to talk about, you want her to spend all of her additional income on protecting the house, not letting the house go, then what is she going to live on after that? Right? If they have additional life insurance, put a meaning to it. Hey, so you got that additional life insurance 20 years ago. Is that enough to bury you, or is that for income replacement or other debts? Well, that was for income replacements. Okay, so now you're looking for insurance to cover the house, right? So I'm already telling them, hey, we're supplementing and we're getting another insurance policy, right? Diane asked if they have work insurance. It's great. That's the easiest one. Work insurance is junk insurance, in my opinion. It's a group policy. They'll say if they have any insurance at work, I say, do you know how work insurance works? Well, when you leave the job, your insurance doesn't go with you, right? I've seen many instances where someone gets sick, they have to leave their job, end up passing away, but guess what? They left their job. They don't have any insurance, right? This is why we want it attached to you, right? Individually, so it never changes, right? Because your work owns that policy. You do not own that policy. Your work owns it. They can make any changes at any time. Look at what happened with Sears. Guys, Sears went out of business. They agreed to keep paying everybody's premiums, and they promised they would. They happened to do it for like 10 years or 5 years or something, and then they just decided, yep, we're not paying for this anymore. Hundreds, thousands of people lost their insurance that they had at Sears. Thousands. Now think about it. They waited on that for 15, 20 years that they had that insurance. Now they're 15, 20 years older. They might be more sick. Now their insurance is too expensive to get. In that situation, right?
Okay, what if they just recently purchased insurance through someone else?
Great. So you'd have known that right on the phone, right? They said, if they were called, they would have said, yeah, we got it taken care of. We already, we're not interested. We already took care of that. Great. So, who'd you end up getting that taken care of? And you're going to handle that right there. And you're going to do a policy review. So we're going to get that information out over the phone. You're going to ask for the first 3 pages of the policy. You're going to send that policy to your upline to have them look at it. And then from there, we're going to be able to show you either how to save them money or add value. Okay. Especially with term insurance. If you can't beat a term insurance that they've gotten 10 years ago, we're going to show them something permanent, like an SUL, something that builds cash value, right? We're always going to find a way to improve on their situation.
Okay, one last thing. what if they recently got whole life insurance, but say they're only 50?
Okay, same thing. We can find them something a little bit better. You know what? If they got a whole life policy from somebody else, I could beat it all day long with an SUL. SUL is always going to be cheaper than traditional whole life. And an SUL, it's the Smart Universal Life. It's Forrester's Financial's Universal Life products.
Okay, great, thank you.
You got it, Faith. Great question. Brittany Godwin.
So I actually got this question during one of my presentations and I wasn't really sure how to answer it. He was asking, I was offering, it was a term insurance and I think it was like 15 years and he's like 61. And he asked if he outlived his 15-year policy, what would happen to the policy itself? Like, would it just disappear or?
Yep.
Yep.
So first off, when you get into this situation and you don't know what you're saying, you say, hey, that's a great question. Let me get my senior partner on the line. You give us a call and say, hey, Mr. Jones wants to know what happens after the policy. What are his options? I'll ask you which carrier it is, and I'll be able to explain it to you right then and there. That's going to be the easiest way, and you don't lose any face doing that. Zero face. I've done that a gazillion times with Nelson and Aaron in the beginning. I always called them when I got stumped. But so for Foresters, I know that it's guaranteed. So they have a couple of different options. Okay. It's called guaranteed insurability. That means after their 15, well, during the time of their term policy, they should be able to convert it. Okay. If they choose to convert it. So you want to convert it before your policy ends. But also you have the right to continue paying on a term policy. That term will auto renew every single year and it'll be a new premium for you every single year. Yes, that gets expensive, but let's put it, for instance, what happens if you got cancer in your 14th year, not sure how you're going to live, your last year comes up, don't qualify for insurance. But yeah, why don't you just pay another extra couple years on your insurance to make sure it sticks, make sure it stays, because you want to leave something, right? It's a great question. I'm not sure with Americo, I should know, but I'm not sure if they have guaranteed insurability options, but typically when a policy is over, it's over. Right?
Okay.
Cool.
That was it. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. All right, Issa.
All right, so what about how would you go about when you were trying to text them to confirm the appointment, right? And they're like, no, I don't want to do it no more. How did you pivot from that?
So you've set the appointment, you reminded them, and they say, we don't want to meet anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, I give it some time and I call them back. Hey, wanted to make sure you got my email. Yeah, we're not looking to do this, Lake. We already got coverage. Oh, that's fantastic that you already got coverage. Does that coverage allow you to access it if you have a heart attack, stroke, or cancer? So I'm going right back into objection handling mode because, usually what happens is we don't want it. Usually the wife will fill it out saying, hey, this is great. She'll come home and the husband will be like, what the hell's this? Yeah, we have an appointment to meet with him tomorrow night to protect the home in case anything happens. We got work insurance. We don't need that stuff. Right. And, get real mad and say, yeah, we don't need that. Just tell them we're not going to do it anymore. We got enough insurance. Right. So we've got to figure out why they're not wanting to do it. Right. Can't beat them if you're trying to text them or email them. You got to get them back on the phone, even if you're going to call them from a different number. Hey, just want to make sure you got the email. Or, hey, you said you wanted to cancel. What changed between the time you set the appointment and now? Oh, we already have enough insurance coverage, right? That's usually going to be the number one thing. Or they're going to say, we think we can't get covered. It's going to be too expensive. Well, hey, I promise not to waste your time. We have a policy for anybody, and we guarantee that it'll fit your budget. If that was possible, you'd want to know about how to protect your husband, right? If it fit within your budget. Yeah. Okay. Well, just keep our time. I promise you, if anything just goes crazy and you don't like what you're seeing, just hang up on me. Okay. No harm, no foul. That gets them to laugh a little bit. And they keep their appointment. I just had a guy actually tell me that today. He emailed me, said, hey, Lake, I had cancer a month ago. I had melanoma off. I'm 70 years old. I know insurance carriers aren't gonna accept me. So why don't we cancel our appointment? You're a really nice person. I appreciate your time. So I called him up and I said, hey, Luther, hey, I know you're super worried about your insurance, not being able to cover you, but I have options that'll accept anybody, no questions asked. And now we just need to worry about making sure we can fit it in budget. So let's just keep our time. And then I promise I won't waste your time on that. Sound fair? He's like, yeah, that sounds fair. Okay, see you tomorrow. That's how it went down. Just happened to me today. Make sense, Issa?
It does. So I had made a tentative appointment for for Tuesday. And, I was texting her to confirm because I made it clear, that I was going to text her. And if she needed more time, she should just reach out, or I was going to, I reached out to her and made sure that everything was good. And she said, yes, everything was good. And then the day of, when I texted her like 3 hours right before the actual appointment, she's like, no, like she didn't even say anything. She just said no.
Okay, that's when you get her back on the phone. You gotta
Okay.
figure out. Sometimes it's just a bad day. She might not even pick up. Give it a couple of days.
It is a
call her back.
crazy hectic. She said she was getting married in 42 days when I set the appointment. So I know how hectic that can be.
Yeah, that can be crazy hectic, or people are getting ready to go on vacation. You never know. But listen, by just talking to her and letting her simmer for a little bit and then reaching back out, you're just keeping an open line of communication. Okay.
Okay.
She's probably worried that they have way too many bills to cover for the the marriage ceremony and the wedding. So they're not going to spend any money right now until that's done. Right. So then you can overcome that objection as soon as you get them back on the phone.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good questions. Good questions, guys. It's we're way past time, so I'm going to shut it down for tonight. Appreciate you all. Next week is next week the last Wednesday? I don't know. Maybe there's a Wednesday coming up on the 31st, maybe? Yes, there's the 31st. So we will have Wednesday winners next week. The 31st will be no Wednesday winners. So that'll be the last day of the month. We'll all be fighting hard. Go get yours. Stay consistent. Put in the work. And you can have what all the top producers have. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, Liz.
All
You're
right.
the best.
Thank you, Liz.
Good night.
You're the best.
Let's go, Danielle.
I have to sing it every time we leave.